I'm still mad that they didn't call this film The Gremlins Take Manhattan. I like that joke. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
And I'm Michelle.
And this is our post-Shriek Out reaction for Gremlins 2, The New Batch. Yeah, this was a weird one for me to pick for us to do, but if you guys watched our video yesterday, we did a top 10 countdown of our favorite movie monsters ever, and Gremlins was on there, and I had to go and get a bunch of clips from Gremlins 2 for that, and the entire time that I was getting those clips, I was just like, man, I really want to watch Gremlins 2 again. And we are in the middle of sequels week, but this brought up a weird question that we had to decide on, because we're reviewing horror films all month long, and the first Gremlins is definitely a horror film. Like, no question to ask, it's totally a horror film. Little dash of comedy in there, especially towards the end when all the gremlins are going nuts. Like, yeah, sure, that's pretty fun and comedic in there. But when it comes to Gremlins 2, maybe you could call it a horror comedy. But it's a flat-out comedy if it's anything. Like, if you gotta choose one or the other, it is a comedy. And this and Aliens were the two that kept giving me so much trouble when planning this week out, because I was like, well, the first Alien, totally a horror film. First Gremlin film, totally a horror film. Gremlins 2 is a comedy, and Aliens is an action film. Do they count for us watching
Like,
this?
if they still have creatures in them?
They've still got monsters in there,
They still got monsters.
That's still something,
Something,
I guess.
I don't know.
But yeah, it was tough for me to decide whether or not we should do that, but like I said, I spent like a week just gathering clips of Gremlins 2, and I just went, fuck it, I just want to watch Gremlins 2, so yeah, we're doing it. Because I love this film, but I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I needed a refresher. Man, I'm glad I had that refresher, because there's so many jokes in here that I didn't understand when I was a kid. There's so many jokes that I just absolutely forgot. I honestly think, I'm going to go on record as saying this, I honestly think that Gremlins 2, The New Batch is one of the biggest successful gambles for a sequel I've ever seen.
Like, I don't even know if I'd call it, like, a sequel, because it is such, like, it's constantly, like, parodying itself. It's
yeah!
Like, it's constantly breaking the fourth wall. It's constantly, like, making fun of the original movie, but it still has that charm and silliness.
There is a great joke in here that they make at the expense of one of the most dramatic emotional moments from the first film. Yeah, remember the first film when Phoebe Cates just broke down and just told this really disturbing, just horrible story
of why she does not like Christmas.
Yeah. They come in here, and at one point a guy just says Abe Lincoln, and he goes, don't talk to me about Abe Lincoln. I remember this time when I was a little girl, and my mom, she dropped me off at the park and she gave me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and oh yeah, I was going through that peanut butter and jelly sandwich pretty quick there, and then this guy pops up with a big beard just like Abraham Lincoln, and a big tall hat, and then her boyfriend just goes, honey, that's great, but we gotta go, and then they just run out, and I was like, what? First off, it sounds like that story was about to get even darker than the one she told about Christmas. And they used it as a punchline, but also it was like they just went, yeah, we know how weird and messed up that whole story was in the first film. Let's just turn that into a gag in this one. It's crazy to me that they did that. And when we got to the end of this film, I turned to you and I had a realization as we were watching this, which is, thank God this movie came out before the internet. Because can you imagine the reaction people would have to this film if it came out during the time of the internet? And your mind went to, oh yeah, because everybody would turn those gremlins into memes, there'd be so much fan art of them, people would be shipping gremlins together, there'd be tons of fan art of the female gremlin, which, that you're absolutely right about. If this came out during the time of the internet, that female gremlin would have been Bowsette of her day. But no, that's not what I meant at all. What I meant when I said that is, can you imagine if a sequel for a horror film came out, a beloved horror film came out, after 6 years of everyone waiting for a new film to finally come out, if it came out and it was the goofiest ass Looney Tunes cartoon of a comedy.
Like, it literally opened with, like, Looney Tunes cartoons on the Warner Brothers logo. It
literally opens up with a Bugs Bunny cartoon, which that's not like, you know, something that would come separate on the DVD. That leads into the opening credits sequence, and it's brilliant that they did that because it lets you know at the start of this movie, this is exactly what this film is going to be. Like, that was genius of them to do that. But can you imagine it? Okay, you've got a horror film, there's spooky monsters. Yeah, there was some comedy comedy in there towards the end, but it wasn't the big major part of it. And then they come out, and it's not only all a comedy, it is a defying the laws of physics, slapstick, flat out cartoon of a comedy that makes fun of itself, including some of the more memorable moments of the previous film. Can you imagine how many people would be going, this ruined my childhood, I was waiting all this time, I'm the true Gremlin fan,
Yeah, it's like,
I should have been the one to write this movie, Hollywood doesn't know what's doing. People would have, this would have been the, God, what was that movie that everyone's like up in arms and fighting each other about these days? Not Return of the Jedi, The Last Jedi. This would have been the Last Jedi of its day.
like the moment you told me about like internet people like getting angry and like fanboys like having like nostalgia goggles on, it's like the moment I immediately thought of the Ghostbusters reboot.
Oh shit!
Because you know how like everyone was throwing a fit over that.
And you really like that one too.
I did.
Yeah, exactly. Which there's a lot of people out there who like that one.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like that film. I'm not in love with it, but I was like, yeah, okay, it's fine. It's better than Ghostbusters 2. Which, yeah, for the people out there who say, no, it's not, like, you kind of have Ghostbusters 2 nostalgia goggles on then. Because, yeah, Ghostbusters 2, not a good film. But, yeah, my mind went to, like, The Last Jedi, and which I think that there would be, like, which, again, I have problems with The Last Jedi, but overall, I really like the film. But the amount of just venom people have for The Last Jedi, I see so many people, I get, like, YouTube recommending videos to me all the time that just say, why The Last Jedi is the worst film ever made. Why The Last Jedi is cinematic garbage. And I'm just like, y'all need to watch more movies.
Y'all need to watch the prequels.
No, these are people who like the prequels.
Oh, no.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
What you want to talk about nostalgia goggles on. Oh, man, we're going down a weird tangent here, but yeah, it just like made me realize, man, this movie is brilliant. It's so goddamn funny. It took so many risks and nailed every single one of them. It is genius.
It is very self-aware.
But because it is so different in every way from the first one, you know the internet will have been nothing but, this is not, who are the SJWs that worked on this film that just ruined it? Female gremlins now? Who asked for that? I didn't need female gremlins in the first film. Oh my God, the amount of just hate this would have gotten. So thank God it didn't come out during that time, and we can all just sit here and go, this is a damn good movie. This movie is amazing. Oh, all the comments are just gonna be people going, that Ghostbusters film was awful and The Last Jedi is indeed the worst film ever made. Again, you guys ask why I sit down and spend an entire week every single year watching the actual worst films of the year every year. It's so that I know what an actual bad movie is. Y'all need to watch some actual bad movies. But okay, that's the last I'm ever gonna talk about that. Ever. So, Gremlins 2, it's 6 years later, and it's no longer in the small town that, what's the protagonist's name again? It was like
Billy.
Billy. Okay, yeah. It's no longer the small town that Billy grew up in. He has now moved to New York, which it actually opens up with this big business trying to like clear out the shop that the mystical magical guy from the first film had in Chinatown, and he wouldn't sell. But they're like, yeah, don't worry. Have you heard him coughing? He ain't gonna be here long. And then it just smash cuts to 6 weeks later, and he's dead.
Or is it 6 weeks or 6 months? I thought it was 6 months.
Oh, maybe 6 months.
Yeah, because like they're already like doing construction and everything, so it's like, I think it might have been 6 months, because it usually takes that long to like...
I thought it was 6 weeks, but I could be totally wrong about that.
I don't know, but yeah.
Not important. But yeah, it smash cuts to like, it just goes like, okay, well, Gizmo...
And all Gizmo, poor little Gizmo, all alone in his cage, crying.
Like, who... Like, he had, like, nobody that was there to, like,
what happened to the little kid that sold Gizmo to Billy?
I think you answered your question. He sold a mystical monster animal that he wasn't supposed to sell.
So he got fired?
The kid probably didn't have a job after that. Oh, yeah, he's not going to keep his job.
I thought he'd be, like, the old man's, like, grandson or something, so...
Oh, maybe. I have no idea how he was connected to that guy. But yeah, so now Gizmo is all alone in the shop, and they don't even clear the shop out. They just start destroying it. So Gizmo runs out there and then gets picked up by these scientist guys who happen to work for the guy who was running this company. And then it smashes to Billy is now working in this company, and it's called Clamp Industries. And like the logo is a giant C in the shape of a clamp destroying the earth.
Like the globe is literally smushed.
I'm pinching your head like he's doing that. Yeah. And man, again, that's a joke I didn't get when I was a kid. I saw this when I was like 7. I didn't get it. It was like, okay, yeah, it's the world in there. Like, I didn't know about like greedy corporations trying to take over the planet. I didn't know that was a thing when I was a kid. So yeah, watching it now, I was like, oh, fuck. Oh, okay, I see what you're trying to say.
You can easily replace Clamp with Trump.
This place isn't tacky enough to be Trump industry. There's a guy walking around in a Dracula costume in this place, and it's overrun with talking gremlins. Trump Industries is still trashier than this place was. Oh my god. I'm just pissing off everybody today in the comments. I don't give a fuck. Man, we are halfway through Thorgeween. I'm in I don't care mode anymore.
Screw you, we like Gremlins too.
Yeah, I want that on a shirt. But so, yes. God damn, this movie. But this movie is so, like, it's so a perfect part of its time, and yet it's timeless at the same time. Because you go inside of Clamp Industries.
And, like, everything is automatic, and just...
But it's also so 80s.
80s future tech.
And, exactly. It's not, and I don't mean it's so 80s in, like, just the way that everyone is dressed. Like, everybody's got the shoulder pads on, and everybody's smoking indoors. No. What I mean is that it's so that, like, cartoonish idea of what we had in the 80s of what a successful person is like. Like, in the 80s, if you ask someone, what is a successful business person like? They're like, well, he'd have a business, he'd have a building just like this. He'd have people walking around giving tours with hats that had his building on top of it. Like, it's that perfect level of cartoonish parody of what we all expected, like, 80s business people to be like. But then you look at, like, the advanced technology they had in that building that didn't exist in the 80s, which I know this movie came out in 1990, but that means it was filmed in the 80s, so there we go. But if you look at the advanced technology they had in this building, it's stuff that we now finally actually kind of have. Like, I remember there was a moment in which they said, this is the world's largest fully automated smart building, and we both turned to each other like, I never remembered hearing anybody use the phrase smart building back in the 80s.
Or like smart anything.
Smart anything, like it wasn't a thing back then, and now that's what technology is. I'm just like, holy shit, this thing was so ahead of its time in so many ways. But what I love about this building is that it's literally just anything. Which is like what happens in a lot of New York buildings. Like, you go, like there's a moment in which there's a dentist's office in there. It's like, yeah, man, you will find dentist's office everywhere in this city, because you can't buy your own real estate for a dentist office. Like, yeah, that's how buildings are in New York. Like, every floor is its own unique thing. So having the Gremlins take that over, it's kind of like having them take over the entire town again like they did in that first one, except just compressed into one location. And the stakes are so much higher because, yeah, the Gremlins could overrun that entire town, and that'd be terrible. But if they got outside of this building, they'd overrun New York, and they'd be unstoppable then. So, be just chewing on my foot down there. I didn't like The Last Jedi, and I'm going to take my revenge on you. So, yeah. Oh, I broke my promise. I mentioned it again.
No.
But yeah, this movie, like we said, it's so much more cartoonish. And you're watching it, it's like, okay, start with a Looney Tunes cartoon. That's a little bit odd, but all right, whatever. That's fine. You know, a lot of movies around this time were doing that. They were trying to bring that back into these films. But then there comes that moment in which it gets to the scientist lab. And Christopher Lee is the head scientist there. And he's asking his assistant, Julia Sweeney, for her Kleenex because he's trying to study the flu. And he gets a package there and it's like, oh, good. The flu has finally come. Rabies. I already have rabies. This is an actual line of dialogue in this movie. And Julia Sweeney has a cold, and he takes her tissue from her, and then he goes, have that analyzed. Which, I gotta bring this up. You got Christopher Lee in there, you got Julia Sweeney, you had, like, Gomez pop up in here, like, the original Gomez from the Addams Family is a janitor in this film. You have so many celebrities in this movie, for, like, brief split seconds, and it wasn't until I was watching it this time that it finally hit me. This isn't just a parody of Gremlins. This is a parody of disaster films. Like all those disaster films from the 70s and 80s where, okay.
It's like, basically Tower Inferno, but with monsters instead of fire.
Exactly, because all those disaster films, like the Poseidon Adventure, Tower Inferno, like that, those are two of the most famous ones, but there were dozens of these things. It was a big thing at the time. It wasn't just, oh, you're all trapped in a place. It was, we have to also get as many cameo guest stars as we can. Like, we have to find that perfect, like, C-level celebrity that people know, but they're not a huge deal, and have them on here just for a line. Like, have that guy in there that you're all shocked just for a line. Be like, oh shoot, it's that guy right there. Oh man, I didn't know it was that guy right there. This film does that. And I was watching this like, they're all trapped in a giant building. They're all trying to escape. There's a disaster they're trying to prevent. There's crazy ass cameo guest appearances everywhere. Just character actors up the wazoo in this movie. This is a parody of disaster films. This movie is so goddamn smart. This has so many layers to it that I didn't like think about. But all the like main characters in here, they're so much more cartoons than they were in the first one. Like, I think about
they're like exaggerations of themselves.
Yeah, they totally are. And I keep thinking about in the first film, what was it? The Lady at the Bank. Yeah. She's the lady at the bank and the wife to their neighbor. What was her name? Who played her? If I can find them. I'm not going to be able to find them. Jackie Joseph. Okay, I found her. But yeah, the lady who was married to Dick Miller. Sheila, what was her name again? I'm not gonna find it. But anyway, yeah, she and the lady at the bank were probably the two most cartoonish characters, but they were just like slight exaggerations. There were a lot of people in here who were very realistic people. Also, I do remember the dad was an inventor and he had crazy inventions. Yeah. But they felt real. Mm-hmm. They felt charming. They didn't feel cartoonish. Yeah. This film just goes everywhere with the regular ass characters in the movie. Not with like the weird side characters who pop up for one joke. The main characters in here are such goofy cartoons. Like you've got Billy's boss. Well, not his boss, but like the one right above him. Whose name I think is like Bloodstone or something. She is the total exaggerated comedy cartoon character of like businesswoman in the 80s. Like the fact that she's even like constantly smoking. There is one cut in here that I don't even know if it was meant to be a joke, but it made me laugh hysterically, where she's just standing there, not smoking, cuts away to someone else, cuts back, she's halfway through a cigarette, and she's still saying the same sentence that she was on when it cut over to that person and cut back to her. That had to have been a joke. And if it was such a subtle joke, and I give him so many points on this for it. But yeah, I loved her character, but the boss, the guy at the very top, the guy who runs Clamp Industries, which again, I gotta look that guy's name up.
Mr. Clamp.
Yeah, Mr. Clamp. God damn it, I went too far back. Never mind. Yeah, that guy is, again, like the perfect, like, 80s, I want to be your best friend. We're trying to make a better, more friendly work environment here, everyone kind of guy. But I'm still all about running the massive mega corporation and buying up everything. But there's a moment in here that I absolutely love. That, again, I didn't even, like, really get when I was a kid. But it's a moment in which, you know, he comes down there and he's checking out on Billy and all that. He's just talking to everybody, just like, oh, hey, what's this thing you're doing here? What's that? And like, but then there's that other moment later in which he is in his office, spins around in his chair. If there been any calls to me, it's just like, this dude is just bored. This dude is just bored out of his skull. Like, there's a moment, like, he actually gets excited and goes, let's do some memos. Like, he is just that bored being at the top. And I love that about his character. It's such a small thing, but it's so good. I also love how, even though there's like an apocalypse level event going on here, he never loses his cool. Like, even when he has to shove a gremlin into a shredder, which again, like very 80s workplace comedy is what this film is also like a dash of. Like, the shredder was a big deal back in the 80s. Mostly because a lot of people had to destroy very important documents back then. The 80s was a corrupt time, everyone. But yeah, the fact that he just destroyed this thing, and then when Billy comes in, like, are you okay? Like, yeah, I'm fine. How are you doing, Billy? Just totally like straightening his tie, just seems totally fine again. When he has to escape the building to save the day, he just gets so excited because he can use the secret escape entrance that he built in once. I love his character so much. I mean, I've been hugging this whole conversation. What do you think about the characters?
I do like them, and it's like, even like, when I've been watching like the Gremlins and everything, it's like, it just hit me. It's like, these guys were the inspiration for Stitch. from Lilo and
Oh,
Stitch.
God.
They had to be. Like, especially, like, for the animated series where they had, like, all different sorts of experiments who had different, like, powers. It's
Get
like,
the fudge out.
yeah, it must have been. Like,
Also, think about Stitch's laughter.
Yeah,
and think about the
exactly.
laughter of these guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I said, like in the animated series, like each alien had their own power. It's like that must have been like inspired like from when the Gremlins broke into the lab and started like drinking all the chemicals and stuff.
Which
so.
again, you want to think about like how weird this movie got. Peach was down there. I wasn't just petting her. I was just paying air, everyone. Our own Mogwai. Listen to that panting going. Anyway,
Yeah, it's like I didn't like look it up or anything, but it's like, gosh darn it, there's like they have so much in common. Like,
if they don't openly admit that was inspiration, you know it was like a secret. Like, hey, can I steal your homework? All right, but don't make it obvious. Yeah, I can totally see that, like 100%. But yeah, let's get into the Gremlins themselves. One thing that I love about this is that in the first film, only one of the Gremlins had like a personality, like the leader, Stripe.
yeah.
In this one, they all have a personality. Like, they originally form only 4 of them, and there's the leader, Mohawk, which you could come up with a better name for that. I mean, the Gremlin from the first film had a Mohawk.
It's like,
don't call this one Mohawk.
Stripe 2, like basically.
Basically, yeah. But yeah, so there's Mohawk. Then there was the like mobster one who's always smoking a cigar. He's like, he had the face like what was that old actor like Mercy, like that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had that face on at all times. So there's that one. Then there's also the dumb one with the buck teeth and the like goofy one.
And then there's the wacky one who was like literally a cartoon character.
Literally like bouncing off the walls like a Warner Brothers character, like woo 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 woo, like Donald ducking it the entire time. Not Donald, Daffy ducking it the whole time.
Like they would even do like cartoon sound effects around him.
Yeah, they would. But I love that when they break, again, another joke that I never got when I watched this as a kid, is it breaks into a talk show, which is a cooking show, but it's a cooking show all about the microwave. And it's like, wow, that is like just a perfect, like very like, this isn't actually real cooking. Like just like a fake cooking show kind of thing. They break into that, and the woman is cooking with brandy, and she starts by like, some people say use a little. I use a lot. Which again, she's a famous character actor too. I can't remember her name, but yeah, everybody in here, famous character actor. But yeah, the joke that I never got when I was a kid was that she talks about cooking with brandy, and every time that it cuts back to her, she's slurring her words a little bit more, like she's being like a little bit more loose. I was like, she's getting drunk. That's a great subtle jab. Like nobody stops and like points the joke out either. No. Like it's totally up to the audience, and it's not like she's over the top. It's not like, you know, Lucy with Vita Vita Vegemin. Like, it's just subtle enough each time it cuts back to her. Yeah, so I thought that was a brilliant joke. But yeah, like those first 4 Gremlins that they create, they have a personality to them. But then they create more Gremlins. I was like, okay, well, they're not going to give all of them personalities. So they gave them all superpowers instead. They're like, okay. Wow. Didn't see that coming. Yeah, like they go to that science lab where they were doing all that weird stuff. And first off, they have one drink like a vegetable formula. And he starts like turning into vegetables, like his ears turn into lettuce leaves. He gets like tomatoes sprouting up all over him. And I always kind of feel bad for him because he's the one out of all the mutant gremlins that no one ever remembers. But I think he actually has a really cool design. But then there's like one with like bat wings, and when he flies through the wall, he creates the Batman logo. It's like, yeah, this came out the year after the Warner Brothers Batman film with Michael Keaton. They definitely were taking advantage of that. And again, that was a Warner Brothers joke. I mean, sorry. Again, that was like a Looney Tunes joke. Like, Looney Tunes would parody whatever their company was doing at the time. Like, they were always famous for doing stuff like that. Yeah, man, they just moved it right into Gremlins. But the best one, the best goddamn one among them, I had to stop the movie and look up who this guy was. Again, you want to talk about crazy ass cameo appearances in here. Tony Robbins plays the brain gremlin. One who takes a mind-enhancing formula. And this guy made me laugh so much when I was a kid. And I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid. Since I was maybe like 12 was probably the last time I saw it. I still laughed hysterically at this guy. And that brand new stuff that I never even got. Like, because he was too smart for me when I was a kid. Now I can actually understand what he's saying, and it makes it so much funnier. Like the scene in which they go to, like, the stock market. Because, yeah, there is, like, a stockbroker there in this building. So you've got the Gremlins just buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. And then someone's like, yes, I understand it's a volatile market at the time. I'm encouraging all of my clients to invest all their money in canned goods and shotguns. That's such a good joke. And it's delivered so well. Was it Tony Robbins or Tony Randalls? I can never remember. Tony Robbins is the inspirational speaker guy, isn't he, right? Whatever, fuck it. It's not important, I'm just killing time here. Anywho, but yeah, I will write down here who it is. So, yeah, I think every single one of the Gremlins that they come up with are just ingenious in here. And it looks like they were just having so much fun coming up with this. And you feel that fun when you're watching this movie. Like, at the end of this film, the Gremlins are just having a party in this building. Like, they're even doing, like, a Broadway musical. Like, the guy in here who had been tortured by these Gremlins, and everybody said was crazy and had his life ruined because he saw these Gremlins, he's looking at them and going, you know, they're actually not that bad. Like, he's actually getting into it. Man, I just remembered another line from the Brain Gremlin that, like, it went by so fast that I didn't even get when I was a kid. But he's on the talk show, and he's talking about how what we want is civilization. We want to be able to go there and become civilized individuals. Now, we might fall and stumble a few times along the way, but a big part of that will be us going out there into the city. Now, of course, we're going to have to figure out how to get around. I mean, Broadway shows, I understand that those cost quite a lot, but also there's all the street crime, but I understand we can watch that for free. That is such a good joke. Like, it comes at the end of this huge build-up, and then the punchline is like a split second, and it's like on the TV as someone else is doing something. So, like, you gotta be paying attention to like two things at once to be able to get that punchline, but it's so goddamn good, and it's amazing to me that they have punchlines that good that aren't even the central focus of the scene that's going on. This movie just, it jumps so high up, in my opinion, not second, but like fourth or fifth time watching it, because I watched it a lot when I was a kid. But man, I am amazed that this is not nostalgia talking, because I am in love with so many things I didn't even notice the first time in this film. This is just a really good movie. And again, I feel like if it came out today, there'd be so many people out there who are fans of the original who would be mad that it's so different. But God, it's one of, like I said, I opened this whole thing up by saying it's one of the most successful gambles that we have ever seen for a sequel. Because they just went nuts with this thing. And it worked. It absolutely paid off. Also, I want to know what became of all the Gremlin puppets, because they had so many of them at the end of this thing that there has to be a warehouse on the Warner Brothers lot just full of Gremlins. I'm sure they've sold most of them off, but yeah, anything else you want to say about the movie?
No, you pretty much said it all. It's wacky and fun, and it's
I was just excited about this movie.
Yeah, it's like, the practical effects are really awesome.
They're so good. There is a moment in here in which Gizmo is dancing, and I said, how did they do that? And you said, oh, it was a green screen. And I was looking for it, and 1980s green screens are easy to see. And I was like, I don't see a green screen on this thing.
Well, it was like late 1980s.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
It's like
by the 1990s, we were starting to get this stuff down.
Yeah, it's like a lot of, the technology and special effects in movies have improved quite a lot from the early 80s to late 80s.
Yeah, 1980s green screens were like my green screen. It was be like, don't get too close or else you're totally going to, oh my God, you can't even see my shadow on this thing. I screwed up my own gag, everyone. I screwed it up. 1980s green screens were like my green screen. There you go. That should do something. How do you like that, everyone? But yeah, man, I really enjoyed this. I'm still going to give it, I'm not going like overboard on this one though. I am going to give it only an 8.5. I can't go up into a 9 on this one.
Yeah.
Simply because it's like, this is just here for fun. It doesn't do anything like amazing other than just being amazingly fun. Like, there's nothing in here that just absolutely blew my mind. But man, I enjoyed everything in here. I really did enjoy every single part of this film. What would you give it?
I did the same thing. Like, I would give the first Gremlins an 8, and this Gremlins 2 like an 8.5.
Yeah. I think I'd give them both an 8.5.
Yeah, I think so
I personally would give them like an 8.5.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're both very different movies, but they're both very good.
Yeah. It's, how many other sequels out there just get so different from A to B? Like, and yet still both of them succeed. So yeah, this, again, I know it's not really a horror film. I would say it's a horror comedy, because I would say that scene in which, I always forget her freaking name. I always forget everyone's name. I'm sorry. Phoebe Cates. I should remember that. I had a massive crush on her when I was a kid. Yeah, largely thanks to this film. But yeah, that scene of her in the elevator, I actually think that's a pretty good creepy scene. When she tells the elevator what floor to go to, and then the gremlins just go, 38. And she starts like riding up, and you see like all the gremlins hanging on inside. That I think is actually like a pretty good like creepy moment in here.
Yeah, like anything where you get like stuck in an elevator, I think is pretty scary.
Yeah, especially with them like taking an axe and trying to break into it.
Yeah.
I'm shocked they didn't do a "Here's Johnny" joke in there. But yeah, and also like anytime that gremlins are being like made, like anytime that they're in the cocoon, that's like a legitimately good like creepy moment. And I will say, Mohawk, despite the fact that he is just Stripe 2, when he takes the spider formula in this thing, oh my god, that entire like hallway that they built for that was really damn creepy. Granted, it ends with Gizmo coming in as Rambo and blowing him up. But, which is very rewarding. I love that this film spends a huge chunk of time just torturing Gizmo so that it earns when he comes back.
Yeah.
And his, like, training montage is great.
It's so cute.
His training montage is adorable. But, God, yeah. Again, it's not like I really have anything to complain about in this film. Like, I'm not, like, taking any points off this thing, and that's why I'm giving it an 8.5. It's just kind of like, to get up into a 9, you gotta give me some stuff that's like, man, this has blown my mind, and I will never forget this. As I said, I saw this when I was a kid. I forgot large chunks of this film. So yeah, it's not like one of the greatest films ever made, but man, is it fun. It is just super fun. And I know I have a lot of younger viewers out there. If you have never watched the original Gremlins, go and watch that. Then immediately watch this one after it and realize how goddamn different they are. And just think about the fact that a studio spent 6 years just sitting around going, should we make a sequel? And then this was the script that came along their desk that they were like, sold. Like, this is the one that they decided to go to. And think about how, like, if this had not worked at all, those people would have been fired. They would have been said, how dare you take any risk on a movie like this? Why don't you just be safe and do the same thing over again? Man, again, that's another thing I have to applaud about this. It took huge risk, and that's so rare in sequels. Man, you want to talk about how this film is also just like a great parody of like those old disaster films? Another like big parody that I think for that is Airplane. And this movie has a flat out airplane moment in it. The moment in which the film just stops and like the film reel just dies. And I would love to meet someone who saw this in theaters. Like in 1990, you saw this in the theater, and I want to know, what did you think when that happened? I would love to know.
Like, did you seriously think that like the film broke or something like that?
Yeah, because when I watched this on VHS or however I watched it, I think I'd watched it on TV first. First time I saw it on TV, like I knew something was up because TV doesn't do this. But yeah, I would love to see what people thought when that happened in there. But then when it just stops, completely breaks the third wall, goes to the like actual like real world and has someone come out of the theater complain to the usher, who is another famous character actor, and he goes into, also the projectionist was a famous character actor whose name I'm forgetting, but he goes into the audience and he goes to Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, who then just goes, Gremlins? Oh, alright, well I'll see what I can do. Hey little guys, do you want to survive Hulkamania when he comes up there to mess with the Gremlins? Do you think the Gremlins can survive the Hulkster? As ripping his shirt over, he does his whole speech, and then the Gremlins put the movie back on again. Oh my god, it's so good. And I turned to you in that moment when we saw it, I went, if they made this today, you know that would be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is the safe bet, and we would all love it, but I would also totally love it if it was the New Day. If it was Xavier Woods and the other two guys in the New Day, and it was just them, I would freaking love that. By the way, make Gremlins 3 and get the New Day in there. I want to see that happen. It's so weird that, like, can you imagine if they made a Gremlins 3? Like, the arguments that would be going on behind the scenes of, no man, we gotta get back to the basics and make this a horror film. Are you insane? We gotta keep going further with this thing from Gremlins 2. Like, you know people would be arguing non-stop about that. And I don't even know what the correct answer is on that. Because I would love to see them try and go even crazier than this one, but I don't know if they could do it. I don't know if you could, like, make something like this today. Like, you could, but man, it would be threading that needle so hard. Like, you would have to get it just right where you're not just completely making Gremlins 2 again, and you are updating it successfully, but you don't go overboard where it's now too goofy. Because that's another brilliant thing about this film. It's never too goofy. Like, you still always buy what's happening. Even when they completely break the third wall, you're just like, yeah, I got this. I'm totally buying this. Yeah, let's do this. I'm in. I'm totally there.
Like, that's so totally something they would do. Like,
but also, like, this movie took its time building, like, slowly increasing the goofiness until it got to that level. That's what I mean by, like, threading that needle. Like, if you introduce that, like, 20 minutes into the movie, people will be like, what the fuck is this thing? No, they waited until the audience was willing to buy, yeah, I'm totally down with the Hulkamania going and finding the Gremlins and fighting them. I'm totally okay with this. Another thing that was so weird in here is that they have Leonard Maltin in here, another, like, famous, like, personality out there, and he's a movie critic, and the movie he's reviewing is the original Gremlins. And this isn't like a weird gag they did, like, during the credits sequence.
No, it's right in the movie.
It's in the middle of the movie. They come in here and they go, yeah, there is an actual Gremlins movie in the Gremlins universe. Like, I kind of feel like they should have come in here and done, like, what was that, like, little fuzzball franchise that was a ripoff of Gremlins? They were, like, little things that was, like, nothing but teeth and, like, just a ball of fur. I can't remember what they were called, but, like, it was a total Gremlins ripoff that they made. I would love it if that's what he was reviewing. And he just, like, badmouthed that the entire time.
Oh, I forgot to mention, like, there was, like, one point where, like, Billy was trying to explain, like, to, like, the network executives.
That moment is so good!
About, like, the Gremlins and stuff, and, like, he says, there are rules and everything, and, like, the network executives, like, kept questioning him. It's like, oh, so, like, if they eat something at 11 p.m. and they got food stuck in their mouth, but then it's 12 p.m., then it's midnight, do they still turn our stuff?
I love that they took the rules from the first one, which are rules that make no goddamn sense, and they had people ask the actual questions that you would ask, and again, this was before the internet, and I have to bring that up, and mostly I've been bringing that up so that I can go like, man, can you imagine how much trouble they get in for it in the day of the internet? I have to give them credit on how genius they are, because if you went on a message board about Gremlins, if Gremlins was made today, it would be nothing but people just going, okay, well, what are the rules of the, well, hold on, what if the food thing was this? Like, how do time zones work in here? Like, someone said it's always midnight somewhere, and it's like, yeah, absolutely, that's totally a thing. This is like the conversations people would be having in message boards.
The best part is when the gremlin pops out of the TV and just, like, strangles him. Like, it's basically the movie telling the people to shut up and just enjoy it. Like,
which, when you stop and think about, that gremlin was Mohawk, and that gremlin at that same time was in another room torturing Gizmo. So it makes no goddamn sense for him to be here, but it is so just the studio itself just going, shut the fuck up and just enjoy this. Yeah. Don't ask any questions. Yeah, it's so genius that the gremlin pops up to strangle the guy asking questions about gremlins. Mm-hmm. Like, don't think about this. You know what? This is a 9 out of 10. I'm going up to a 9 now.
Wow.
This movie is so goddamn good. This is one of the best sequels that's ever been made. I gotta say that. But yeah, thank you guys very much. Man.
Do we want to talk about spoilers?
No, you guys learn this on your own. You gotta watch this. Because I didn't even talk about some of the weirder, freaky gremlin things in here. Yeah, you guys discover this stuff on your own.
I think we talked about this movie enough anyhow.
We did. We've been going for like an hour on this, but yeah, it's definitely a 9 out of 10. Like, if I can get that much enjoyment just talking about this film, it's a 9 out of 10 for me. I still stand by the first Gremlins being an 8.5, which means that I think this movie's better than the first one. Wow. Okay, sure.
Well, the sequel is a lot less dark, that's for sure.
It's definitely more fun, yes. But okay, so, yeah, this film is so much smarter than I thought it was going to be. Again, this is not nostalgia. This is not, I love this film as a kid, so I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's going back and like...
I'm finding so many things in here that I was like, I never knew this. And that's freaking brilliant. I never thought about this thing. That's an incredible thing to put in your movie. Yeah, man, this movie's great. It's so good. Yeah, go out there, watch the first Gremlins, then watch the sequel. If you have never checked this franchise out, again, don't just go into the second one. You need the full experience of going, how did we get from A to B on this thing? Yeah, man, it's so... I love this film. I really, really do. But thank you guys very much for tuning in. Again, I know this wasn't a classical horror film, but man, it is a great horror comedy, except it's like 95% horror, 5% comedy. But thank you guys very much. You know what?
You mean it's backwards? Like...
Whatever. I'm too tired. You know what I really want to do now? We have a show on this channel called Pitching In, where I pitch what I would do with like a movie adaptation of famous geeky properties. I kind of want to pitch Gremlins 3 now. I want to make that an episode. An episode, but just to come in here and cast it. Like, just go, here are the celebrity guests I want in Gremlins 3. Like, that's it. Maybe that should just be a top 10. But anyway, thank you guys very much for tuning in. Tomorrow we'll be back with like an actual horror movie sequel. But until then, happy Halloween. My voice is shot.